Lucky Boys Podcast.
Is it difficult to be in that sort of situation? Absolutely. I mean, think about, our own lives, right? I would hate to be put in that situation. I'm sure you two would as well.
But are they aware of it though? Because they a lot of them don't have access to information, right?
They do.
And
they have it.
North Korea, which we're talking about, right? They don't have electricity. They don't have the internet, right? And I'm pretty sure in a government like that, they wouldn't be sharing information. As far as some of them are concerned, or most of them, the world started when their first leader came into power. That's when the world began. That's the timeline in their books, and that's what they're taught, and that their country's the most loved in the world. And so if you never knew what heaven felt like, then you would believe that you may be in heaven yourself, right? Even if you grew up and you were always hungry, you would think that's normal to be hungry, right? And then when you get food, then that's the highlight of your life, to eat. And it can represent for us. What if there is like another country that we weren't aware of that was financially secure? So they didn't have to worry about that one form of income to take care of their family, right? They didn't have to worry about all these modern day stresses that we think is normal for us. We think we have it good. But what if we look across the pond and there's another country that exists and everyone's happy and never have to worry about money? They just focus on art, love, because they have the time to focus on other things except surviving.
So, I mean, even within the microcosm that is North Korea, right? Let's take it there's in that society, just that small society. So when they say like, oh, everybody's equal or things like that, but you have someone who doesn't ever go hungry, right? Someone who has nicer things, right? So even in that sort of microcosm, that inequality, right? People are going to begin to see that, right? And they're seeing the leadership and things like that. They may have certain things and they don't. Leadership can do certain things that they can't, right? So does that already feel sort of oppressed for them, right?
I think it does, but would you question it if you look at your leader like a god? You
So
wouldn't, because you would say
on the surface,
he's a
they
god.
do, but
He
in
makes
the
the
back of their
decisions.
minds, right? In the back of
Just
their
got to be questioning behind that,
Yeah.
right?
But if you don't question your God, God works in mysterious ways. God has a reason why. You can only tell putting the pieces when you look in retrospect, right? So a lot of people do believe that, like in our religion, in anyone's religion, I hear people say that a lot. When I went to Catholic school, I was told that God knows all, right? So I'm saying if that's what they believe, that their leader's a god, then why would it, if they have strong faith, they wouldn't question it. They would say, yeah, this is what they were taught when they were young, and they believe that this is the divine, and that and we're so blessed to actually have a physical presence of him, right? And yes, we're hungry, but he knows what he's doing. He has a plan, right? You're religious, Norm, right? You believe in God. You also believe that about God. When something doesn't go right in your life, you question God. You go, no, I have faith in him. You have friends that's a pastor, right? They will tell you the same thing. Have faith. There's a reason for it. And then you won't question it. You are, yeah, he's divine. So what if it's the same over there? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's interesting because how do you know, like, from the day you're born that, basic human rights is a thing? Or, from right and wrong, you from the day you're born, right and wrong, you understand the concept. And you're learning from a person who's, maybe, he's coming from like, okay, a religious background, or he's representing God, or how do you know that what he's saying is wrong? I don't know, but then I kind of, when I hear something, I kind of understand that it's either right or wrong. Like I don't know if that's an innate thing that I'm born with, or it leads me to question. Like even if this person might be God or a representative of God, like my priest that I go to, and he's a mentor, and I listen to him. If he says something out of whack, I'm thinking like, this is wrong.
But you have the luxury to think like that. Over in certain areas, let's just say what Al is saying is 100% on the ball. Food scarcity, you're hungry. That's, I don't know, have you been like really hungry before? You can't think anything except about food. You don't have time to think about, you know, beautiful art, color ideas, and right or wrong. All you want to do is put food in your stomach.
You're thinking about survival.
Time. That's it. You're not thinking, well, this isn't fair that guy over there, that's a god, divine being, that's...
I mean, human nature, I'll be pissed. Like, why this motherfucker, even if he's a fucking god, why is he eating shit and I'm fucking starving?
But you're an American. You were born and raised in America, so you're going to think like that. It's different. You're growing up in a country where your mom and dad, everybody just said, this is God.
But I think it's also human nature to feel like that.
But you also grew up hungry your whole life. It's not like you were full one day and you had a beautiful house, everything was amazing, your clothes, and then they stripped you of all that. Then you'd be like, why?
But in human nature, I feel like in human nature, you can distinctly tell, like, I don't have anything. This guy has something.
Okay, so what about love? Do you think they understand what love is there?
That I don't know, because
you can make that same argument that human nature, we should understand what love is, and that's what separates us from other beings, right? And other animals. Most people would argue that, but there are people that were interviewed out from North Korea where they didn't understand what love is between a mother and a daughter.
So they didn't.
So think about it. So if you can't even understand what love is between a mother and a daughter, how do you your whole life understand what is right and what's wrong, other than what they tell you what is right and what is wrong?
How is that family dynamic in North Korea when they don't understand love? Like, is this just relational? Like, okay, I understand you have a title of my mother or father, but there isn't a real connection between each other?
I mean, let's explore this a little more, right? Where do we get our ideas of love, right? You know, from the when we say what does love really look like, right? Is it something that's been portrayed by the media, right? Because in the U.S. we have a lot of that, right? I mean, if we're talking about South Korea and Korea, K-dramas.
How can you not talk about love and K-dramas?
I know what love is. I'm going to sulk and I'm not going to tell you how much I feel for you, but you should know. That type of love?
I mean, there's all kinds of stuff.
Is love taught?
I mean, so
is it learned?
Nurture versus nature, right? I was just having this discussion with a friend, and I said, I think that there is a tension between the outside influence and something internal, right? Because there are certain things that you just kind of feel, right? And again, that's unique to everybody, right? But there's certain, at least from what I've noticed, you know, being 33 years on this earth, right? I'm only 33, okay? Not that old, okay, guys? So, but when I look at it, I go, there seem to be some parallels, right? I used to work for the UN, and I was in Switzerland back in the day. That's another story I'll talk about. They actually have a North Korean mission there. So, it's interesting. When I passed by, I was like, wait, what? I was like, okay. But going back, you know, you look around and you go to different societies, you go to different countries, you go to different cultures, right? And there are certain things that are kind of parallels through that kind of seems to be a common thread through all of them. You know, me, I'm the type of person that will look for grounds of commonality. Why? Because I kind of want to know, okay, well, what values do I have? Because values don't have a gender, face, race, value, whatever, you know, anything like that. Values are very objective, right? So when I look around, people want to hang out. They want to be with the people that they, you know, kind of love or care about or things like that. And these are words that we use, but, you know, how they show it is very different, right? I know, like, you know, especially with Asian families, it's just like, what grade did you get? Got a B? Psh, right? But that may be the Asian parents' way of showing, like, hey, look, the reason that I'm strict on you is because I know how hard the world is, right? Because of this is their perspective. It's not necessarily what we may see, but based on their life and their experience, that's where they may be coming from. To us, we're like, we're in the U.S., you know, you don't know me, right? Like, all that comes out. But at the end of the day, to them, that was their reality. And to them, the world may seem, because they had that immigrant background, or they were in, let's say, one of those war-torn areas. Life is harsh. Life is cruel. There's nobody coming. there's no help coming. You need to be self-sufficient. That's all on you. It can be that, right? And you need to be the best damn person that you can possibly fucking be, or else you're gonna get eaten and shit out. That's a reality for a lot of people, right?
And yes, certainly. And that's why they're so harsh.
Right. But let's take a look at what that sort of breeds. Are there pros and cons to everything? Absolutely. You know? Just because that's the way that show that they care, doesn't mean that they don't love you. They want the best for you, but they have their idea of what is best for you. Right? And so going back to like North Korea and things like that, like, is there something that they probably know? I mean, there's a show that you can look up. I think it's like something about friends or something like that, but it's a show that they have actual defectors share their stories, share their experiences, and this is all on YouTube. You can watch this.
Where they have North Korean defectors?
Yeah, you can.
Is it a talk show or?
It's a talk show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they have like a panel of like 30 people like there, and they're all talking about their experiences and things like that. So you hear them, and you hear them talking about the good and the bad, right? They're talking when you hear about them talk about the good, you hear them talking about people, like their friends. Family, that they care. There's a sense of community. There's an actual sense of community, like we have here, right? People, that kind of made it clear to me that people are very similar wherever you go. They want to share a meal with someone. They want to be with someone who understands. There's a longing. There's this deep sort of longing. There's a desire for connection, right? Whether that be as friends, lover, whatever.
Well, with social animals, that's for sure.
Yeah. So there's that. And so they share those stories, but they also share stories about what it was like for them in the military. They share like, oh, there's a lot of rape. There's a lot of all this other stuff. There's a lot of, sexual assault. There's all this. Problems that are here are problems that are everywhere, right? Because why? It comes back down to the human equation, the human factor, right? People aren't perfect, right? Doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to be better, right? Doesn't mean that we shouldn't do that. But things can get in the way, and things can make it messy. Circumstances can make certain things messy. And so people may look at them and go, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to stick to your integrity? Are you going to stick to your honesty? When your son or daughter or your friend or whoever is, dying, right? When you have the survival mindset, your values, again, this is values. Your integrity, your character, what you really value, and who you are as a person, those characteristics, which are, again, universal characteristics, start to come out, right? Or are you going to be someone who's going to, are you going to be someone who's caring about someone, or are you going to say like, nope, your time's done, I'm going to throw you under the bus, I'm going to do that for a piece of bread?
Yeah, and I've heard of that where they told on their own parents. Because they had planned, like at a certain age, they were just like, all right, we're going to leave. We're going to take our kids with us. They were going to try to escape North Korea through China. And they went ahead and told their kid the plan. And there were instances where the kid told on the parents and the parents were executed.
I mean, the kids may, who knows what the kids may have said or how the kids came around to that. Like, there's always somebody watching, right? Like, using the analogy of, believe in God, and he's always watching. Somebody's always watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that society, it's very clear that somebody's always watching, but somebody may be watching, but somebody may also be fabricating stories behind your back, right? Fabricating lies to take you down. Why? Because they want power. They want the good stuff.
Lucky Boys Podcast.